That isolation point that she drove home was kind of funny, and we hear that a lot. In that whole talk yesterday, they were able to take a couple of bad cases and explode them and make it like no one should be allowed to homeschool unless all the we can predict all these cases are good and free of abuse, doing things exactly the way we want. But when the tables are turned, well, wait, she's backing up. Like, my daughter was also surprised that they said, well, we should consider sending homeschool children into the government-run schools 2 days a week too. And, you should have seen my daughter's reaction. She did a recording too and was like, what? Don't send me there. Yeah. Don't send me there. But she's already been there. So she's already been exposed to that. She knows, she's familiar with that type of ideology, which is fine. And I think the data shows that homeschoolers are, let's see, Corey could point it out much better than me, and maybe Rebecca could too, where homeschoolers are exposed and tolerant of different ideologies.
Right.
And there is research out there to back it up. Regardless of people who continue to say there's not research, it does exist, right. And they minimize that there's, right. There's arrows on the other side to lob back at them. Wait, yes, there is. So.
Yeah. And it would make sense, because if a child is coming up and, if the parents kind of have the same, again, mainstream values, whatever that means, but if a parent were to have that same value system as the public school, then those are the kids who are really in that ideological bubble.
Yes.
Whereas again, if as a homeschooler, if we are raising our kids in something different than that, and like you said, entertainment, news, academia, everywhere, there's this mainstream culture, our kids are going to be, exposed, unless they're locked in a basement. Somewhere.
And that came up too.
Which is not the norm. Obviously, they're going to be exposed to that. So, and Angela, you're right. The research that I've read shows that homeschoolers are actually more tolerant of other viewpoints, and it would make sense, because they are getting exposed to both, versus where if your parents and the school system, if it all lines up, you're really not getting that other exposure. So that was interesting to watch the reaction to that question. And I thought that was a very well worded question about the exposure to other viewpoints. Was there anything else?
The thought of force came up a lot. Like, why don't we force this one group of people to just do what we want? And that's kind of what the government school is doing. They're forcing people into a school based on their zip code. And here are your options, take it or leave it. Good luck finding an alternative. And that's kind of what brought us together, right? We found alternatives, and others have that same capability to find an alternative to that zip code school or that government run school, because it doesn't work for everybody. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, and they wouldn't. And then Carrie was, trying to point out some of, I think she said something about it's like only like 2/3 of kids are at a literate level, like by 8th grade, and the history scores and the civic scores are very low, like around like 25% are proficient. Yeah. And then it was when those was like, hey, what about, because Bartholet said that children are entitled, they have academic rights. And then it was like, well, what's the performance? What's the track record of the public schools? And then it was just kind of, oh, we're going to kind of dismiss that, and just focus on these, handful of homeschoolers who we don't know, where they are, what they're doing.
Yeah, and kids do have a right to a sound basic education in the state of North Carolina. But if we're going to take that line of argument, then what should the state do when NAEP scores for reading and math are on the decline year after? Well, I think it's like every 4 years that they do that, right? And then I think the stat was 15% new U.S. history. How sad, So what is a sound basic education? And groups are fighting about this right now in North Carolina, that Leandro case, which I can't speak that much to, but it's just it's using that argument, sound basic education. But what does that equate? why are we going to keep arguing for this one thing and attack these other things when people are obviously being left behind? You kind of need math and reading skills, right, to move on in life.
Right.
Yeah. I got this email from our school district today or yesterday, and the headline is LPS continues to embrace equity, inclusion, and diversity. And I was thinking about that with this conversation with Bartholet, because when you are trying to say, let's force everybody into the same system because we need them to all have the same viewpoint, essentially, where is embracing diversity there? I think that homeschool has been strengthening society for a long time. And of course, homeschool used to be the norm, right? Like most kids used to be educated at home. But when that happens, you have kids growing up with all kinds of different backgrounds and with a really good sense of their family culture and their family history. And so those things kind of go on to the next generation. And all of the good things that come from all of these different cultures continue, and they kind of come up and strengthen other aspects of our society. So, I truly believe in this diversity can strengthen us, but it's like we're trying to get rid of diversity. That's one thing I took away from that conversation is it seems like what Bartholet wants is for everybody to be the same. And I don't know. To me, when we're trying to get everybody to be the same, we're probably neglecting good things coming from different cultural backgrounds that could be a strength to all of us at some point. So when I see that word diversity now, it's like, yeah, it's kind of like a byword, a key word that people like, but do you really mean it? And in this conversation, I thought, no, that what we're looking for from these kinds of conversations seems like what people are looking for is conformity, not diversity. And let's truly embrace diversity by letting people do things how they want to do them.
That's right, because the children have rights. And if the children have rights, shouldn't all of our schools be doing background checks? That's not happening in North Carolina.
Really?
Yep. So moving from one district to another, it's not consistent rules. So I learned that.
Oh.
I learned that last year when I visited New Hanover County schools, because they had a pedophile problem that was hitting the newspapers and all kinds of craziness. And one of the teachers actually connected with me and, was like, don't tell my name, but yeah, this is what happens. And I think she even mentioned something about the photo ID. So when parents go into a Wake County school where I live, we used to be required to scan our ID and it does some sort of instant background check, which is great, right? But then North Carolina also has controversy about photo ID to vote. So it's kind of weird that you need that to get into school, but you don't need it to, there's all these woohoo craziness going on. But anyway, I think teachers needed to provide a copy of their photo ID, like a state ID, like driver's license or NCID, and to be hired for a job. And she would say they even submit their own background check. So it wasn't like a strong system to apply for a job or something like that. So it's interesting that there's not consistent safety rules. So if you're going to argue that children have rights or schools should be diverse or they should be safe, or homeschoolers should be tolerant. Let's apply some of these things to both sides, right?